بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد المرسلين وخاتم النبيين وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ولا شبيه ولا مثيل له ولا ضد ولا ند ولا جسد ولا صورة ولا أعضاء له كان الله ولا مكان فهو الآن على ما عليه كان فلا تضربوا لله الأمثال ولله المثل الأعلى تنزه ربي عن الجلوس والقعود وعن الحركة والسكون وعن الاتصال والانفصال لا يحل فيه شيء ولا ينحل منه شيء ولا يحل هو في شيء لأنه ليس كمثله شيء مهما تصورت ببالك فالله لا يشبه ذلك ومن وصف الله بمعنى من معاني البشر فقد كفر وأشهد أن سيدنا وعظيمنا وقائدنا وقرة أعيننا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله ونبيه وصفيه وحبيبه وخليله أرسله الله هدى ورحمة للعالمين هاديا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه سراجا وهاجا وقمرا منيرا اللهم صل وسلم وأعظم وأنعم وأكرم على هذا النبي الكريم سيدنا محمد خاتم النبيين كلما ذكره الذاكرون وغفل عن ذكره الغافلون الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا عظيم الجاه أما بعد فنذكر أنفسنا بإخلاص النية لله تعالى في حضور هذا المجلس مجلس علم الدين. I praise Allah and glorify Him and I thank Him for all the blessings that He gives without Him being obligated to give anything, and I ask Allah to raise the rank of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and to protect his Muslim nation. I testify that no one deserves to be worshipped except Allah, the one without a partner, the one without an equal, the one without a similar, the one who is unlike anything in the universe and nothing in the universe is like Him. He has no father, no mother, no sister, no brother, no son, and no daughter. He exists without time and place because He is the creator of time and place. He does not reside above the throne and He is not attributed with fatigue like the Jews say. Our Lord is glorified beyond any imperfection that the non-Muslims attribute to Him. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah Ta'ala does not resemble that. And whoever attributes an attribute of the creations to Allah is outside of Islam. And I testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib, the son of Hashim, the son of Abdul Manaf, from the tribe of Quraysh, is the best creation of Allah and His final prophet and messenger sent to all humans and jinn, and He is truthful about everything that He conveyed of the revelation. Thereafter, remind ourselves to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah in attending this session of Islamic knowledge, because having the sincere intention is a requirement to get the reward. So the Muslim, whenever he does a good deed, he has to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah to get reward for that good deed. The reward is defined as the compensation that the Muslim receives in the hereafter for the good deeds that he did in this life among what makes him happy. An example of the reward that is guaranteed to the righteous Muslim in the grave is that his grave is expanded approximately 105 feet by 105 feet, and his grave is illuminated with a light similar to the light of the full moon, and the fragrance of paradise will be present in the grave. The sincere intention means for the Muslim to do the good deed seeking the acceptance of Allah only and not the praise of the people. So alhamdulillah, we are grateful to Allah that we have been guided to Al-Islam, the greatest blessing, the best thing that you could have on this earth, the best thing that any of us could have on this earth. And we are grateful and thankful to Allah, and we are happy that we have been guided to have access to the knowledge of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah, the saved group. The saved group because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said in the hadith of the splitting up of those who identify as Muslim into 73 groups, meaning that at a certain point in time that those groups that splintered from Ahlus Sunnah will reach the number 73 or the number 72, so that there will be a total of 73, and including the saved group. But the distinction is made for the saved group that they are confirmed to be the ones who are upon the creed of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the creed of the companions. As for the other 72 groups, they have all splintered off, and the majority of them, their misguidance reached to the level of them being judged as outside of Islam, as non-Muslims, as kafirs. And a few of them, a few of the deviant sects, their misguidance did not reach to a level where they're judged as non-Muslim. However, they're judged as enormous sinners in the creed, and they for sure will enter hellfire first before going to paradise, if they die upon that deviant creed. Because the one who is eligible to receive the forgiveness and for their sins in the hereafter would be the Muslim, the Sunni Muslim, yani the one who is from the saved group. As for the one who deviated but his deviance did not reach the extent of blasphemy, then he for sure will enter hell. As opposed to, let's say, the Sunni Muslim who dies with an enormous sin of action, meaning, let's say, he murdered someone unjustly. So he died with that sin on his soul because he didn't repent. So because he's a Sunni Muslim in the hereafter, he might be forgiven by Allah. He might, for example, not get any of the torture that he deserves for committing the unjust murder. But that only happens to a Sunni Muslim. It doesn't happen to someone who is one of the deviant sects that their deviance did not reach the level of blasphemy. But anyway, the point is, the Prophet ﷺ, he clarified that the saved group is the vast majority, the congregation, those who have the same creed as the Prophet ﷺ and the companions. This is the praise for this nation, that this is, or that's the description for this nation, how they are identified. Or how do you know, for example, which one is the saved group? You check the numbers. Run the numbers. The majority of those who identify as Muslims, they all have the same creed. For example, that Allah is the only creator. No one is the creator except Allah. The majority of them will say that. A minority among those who identify as Muslims, they'll say, no, the human being creates his own deeds. So they're outside of Islam. They're kuffar. The majority of those who identify as Muslims, they say the first caliph, Abu Bakr, the second caliph, Umar, the third caliph, Uthman, the fourth caliph, Ali, in terms of rulership. The majority of those who say they are Muslim, they believe that. That's their creed. There's a minority among those who claim to be Muslim that say, no, Ali should have gone first. So since they're a minority, that shows us they're one of the deviant sects. And so on and so forth. Now, of course, the ones who push the anthropomorphist agenda in our time, or the ones who do it the most, and the Wahhabis, they try to do a misdirect in this concept. And they say, oh look, well the majority of the people on earth are not Muslim. Does that make them right? And we say, no, of course not, because the metric of having or outnumbering or having a majority or having a larger number is specifically for those who identify as Muslim, those who claim to be Muslim, those who say about themselves, I am Muslim. So in that demographic of people, the majority of them, they have the creed of the Prophet ﷺ, and by the numbers you can tell which one is the saved group. Now in terms of outside of that, outside of those who identify as Muslims, then it's known that the majority of the human beings on earth are not Muslim, they're blasphemers. I think I forgot who might be the most, I think it's Hinduism, or like Buddhism, or one of those pagan religions might be the most numerous, and then there's Christianity, and then there's Judaism. Atheism had been growing for some time, but all those people together highly outnumber the Muslims. If we say that the Muslim nation, the actual Muslims, if we say that they're 2 billion, right? Let's say they're 2 billion. How many billions of people are there on earth? They say 7. They say closer to 8. So 2 out of 8, is that the lower percentage? Of course, that's the lower percentage. So when we say the majority, that's the saved group, we're not talking about in the context of including those who say they're not Muslim. No, because obviously whoever's not Muslim, then we know that they're astray. We're talking about that demographic of people that they say that they're Muslim. They say, I am Muslim about themselves. They appear as Muslims. They say the words that Muslims say. They say, Assalamu alaikum. They supposedly celebrate the Eid. They supposedly pray. They supposedly fast. They say Ramadan Mubarak. They say Ramadan Kareem. They say Insha'Allah. They have beards. They have thawb. They have turbans. They have hijabs. But because of something that they believe in their creed, they're away from what the Prophet ﷺ came with. So that's how we identify in terms of those who claim to be Muslim. That's how we identify who's the saved group from who is not the saved group. So we are thankful to be members of the saved group, yani Ahlul Sunnah. And I'm explicitly referring, there's no double speak here, specifically, explicitly, literally referring to Ahlul Sunnah. Wherever they may be, in whatever country they may be from, whatever their ethnicity, whatever their age, whatever their social standing, whether they're in the furthest village or in the most densely populated metropolis, anyone who's a Sunni Muslim, they have, for example, the esteem and the value that Islam gives them, and I respect that and I honor that, because it's many verses in the Quran that emphasize the value of the Muslim and the value of the one who has the correct creed. Among that is that, for example, his honor is forbidden to be insulted. His money is forbidden from being taken. His blood is forbidden from being shed. He has rights. He has certain rights that certain others don't have, just because he's a Muslim, just because he carries the correct creed in his heart. So we're grateful and thankful that we are a part of that, and that we can have the authentic, validated information from the Prophet ﷺ connecting to us through a chain of narration. So that means the information is verified. Not speculation, not philosophization, not making things up, not interpreting things on your own, not trying to put your spin on it. No, straight. How the Prophet ﷺ said it. And whoever does something other than that, then for sure they are astray. For sure they are an enemy of Islam. So alhamdulillah, we're going over the world famous, legendary, well-known authoring and book known as Matn Abi Shuja, also known as Matn al-Ghayati wat-Taqrib, which is a beginner's book in the Shafi'i school of law. And so we got to the part about the siwak. We did start with some of that, but we're gonna just we're gonna recap by starting from the beginning of the chapter for the siwak. So whoever has, whoever has the English copy, it's page 37, and make sure, lillahi ta'ala, whoever doesn't have a physical copy, then let him go to waibabooks.com. Is that the website? I'm pretty sure that's it. Let me verify that. Yeah. .com, right? So taibahbooks.com. So it's spelled TAIBAH books.com. So, yeah, that's good. So you can order your copies from there. Lillahi ta'ala. It's a very great project. It's a very beneficial project for there to be in the hands of the English-speaking student of knowledge who wants to delve into the Islamic law. It is very well put together. The technical terms are very well selected. The style that it's in is easily understood. There's a flow. So may Allah reward those who worked on that greatly. It is a great service to the Muslim nation. Page 37, using the siwak. The siwak, in parentheses, toothstick, is recommended in all situations, the author said, except after the zenith for the fasting person. So here we have a footnote for number 13, and it's beneficial to go over that. We mentioned before that we're not going to do every single footnote, but the ones that I deem to be to add this extra detail would not be overwhelming or confusing, then I'll mention it. And if it's something that goes into deep detail that is for the more well-trained or the one who has more experience with the Islamic law, we'll leave it for later. And inshallah, if you ever go over the book again, we can expand a little bit more. So number 13, it says, as-siwak in the language, yani in the Arabic language, right? So always keep in mind, and I'll keep repeating this over and over, in the Shafi'i school, one of the main fundamentals that he built his madhab on is the Arabic language. What is the meaning of that word used in the Quran originally in the Arabic language? What the inherent meaning of the word is, what the built-in definition of the word is, and how that there's a connection between that and the judgment. So anyway, it says as-siwak in the language means to rub. In the Arabic language, it means to rub. Ad-dalk. And it means the instrument itself. So in the Arabic language, you can say the word siwak and be referring to a noun, the gerund, which is to rub, right? To rub. Is that in English the same? Is that, no? To rub, is that a noun? Rubbing is the noun. So to rub is like a verbal sentence. Well, in Arabic it's a noun. Siwak. It's not the verb. So I would say, yeah, so that should be changed from to rub to rubbing. So siwak means rubbing in Arabic, and it means the thing that is used for the action, the thing that you rub with. Both are referred to as siwak. And I'm only saying it should be changed because so it can have the exact mirror term in the Arabic language. I mean, in the English language. Rubbing? Yeah, no, in the upper one. Yeah, but I'm talking about the footnote, yeah. Religiously, it means using oud, the instrument for the teeth and what is around them, with an intention. So, the word siwak itself, originally in the language, it means rubbing, and it also means the thing that you're using to rub with, the tool that you're using to rub with. And Islamically, within the religious context, according to the Islamic law, the siwak is defined as using an instrument like oud, like the wood, for the teeth and what is around them. So what's the connection, the linguistic? Because you're using that tool, that's called siwak, to rub your teeth. With an intention, with a specific intention, because the religion ordered it, because the Prophet ﷺ informed us of the great reward of using the siwak, because we want to be accepted by Allah, because we want to get a higher rank, etc. All that is an example of a sincere intention. So it says, and in 3 cases it is more strongly recommended. Remember, we read above the line first and then we read below the line. When the mouth changes because of azm or something else, when waking up from sleep and when standing for prayer. So here we have another footnote. It's going to be talking about the word azm. This word is an Arabic term, of course, and it can refer to different things linguistically. So that's what the author and the translator did not put either of the 2 definitions and just put the Arabic word. So number 15, the scholars differed about azm, the meaning of it, what it's referring to. Some said it is long silence, when someone stays silent for a long time, their mouth changes, the taste in their mouth changes, etc. The environment inside their mouth changes, and that change, due to the long silence, is called azm. And others said that it is eating food with a foul smell. Some scholars, they said azm is referring to when the breath changes, the odor of the mouth changes because of eating a food that has a foul odor, a foul smell. And for example, like garlic, like raw garlic. For example, like onions, like raw onions, for example. And it is disliked to eat those things because they give the person bad breath. So here, basically, the author is saying one of the 3 cases in which it is more strongly recommended to use the siwak is when the mouth changes, when the odor of the mouth changes. Whether it was because the person had stayed quiet for a long time and so their mouth was closed for a long time and so their breath changed because of them being silent, or because they ate a food that has a foul smell. Regardless of the reason why, for example, the foul odor came into the mouth, it's sunnah, it's more emphasized, it's even more recommended to use the siwak. Why? Because the siwak, it removes that, it cleans the mouth. The second circumstance is when waking up from sleep and then when standing for prayer. And that's not just the only time, but that's what the author mentions. Now, reading below the line, it says linguistically in the Arabic language, siwak means the action of rubbing, and it can also mean what you use when rubbing. Religiously, it means to use a stick or the like to clean one's mouth. The sunnah of siwak occurs by using any pure rough matter that removes the yellow layer that covers the teeth. So it is not a condition to use the stick. Any rough matter will work. So even like, let's say, a rough fabric. Like, let's say, a towel, for example. It is better to use the stick, especially al-araq. So what's best is to use the wood, and specifically the wood from a tree called al-araq. Footnote 16, it says, al-araq is a type of tree that is tall and smooth with lots of branches. And if you've ever seen the way it looks, mashallah, it looks amazing. Any oud can be used, and any wood can be used. Anything that is khashin, any rough, not smooth, and pure, that removes the yellowness from the teeth, one can use a piece of cloth. A piece of cloth like what you're wearing, cotton, polyester. One can use a toothbrush also, because it has the required characteristics. But to gain reward, one must remember the intention that one is doing a sunnah. So when you brush your teeth, if you do it with the proper intention, then you can get reward for brushing your teeth. If you do it with the proper intention, you get the reward of siwak by brushing your teeth. Back to the top of above the line. But if one uses a rough finger with the intention of doing this sunnah, it works. So the person has a finger that is rough, and they use that as a siwak, and they take their rough finger and they rub it back and forth like how you would use a siwak, like how you would do it with a siwak, then that would cover the sunnah. You would have at least the sunnah of that. It can be done. You get some sunnah reward for that. Then the author said, it is sunnah for the person to use the siwak at any time except after the start of dhuhr until sunset if one is fasting, according to a saying. So there is a saying in the Shafi'i school that it is disliked to use the siwak after dhuhr until the maghrib if the person is fasting. Let's look at footnote 17. There are many benefits to using the siwak. It yields acceptance from Allah, and that by itself is enough for us because of its rewardability. It is something that the devil hates. It cleans the mouth, it improves one's breath, it improves one's mind, making one sharper and smarter. It improves one's vision, it reduces the graying of one's hair, it straightens one's back, it increases one's reward when performing acts of worship, it frightens the enemy, it helps in digesting the food, and it reminds one of the testification of faith while dying. Some said using a siwak has 70 benefits. One should intend that he is performing a sunnah and use his right hand when using the siwak. And one should start going back and forth, rubbing horizontally with the right side of his mouth and end in the middle, and then the left side of his mouth and end in the middle. This is the best form. But if he does it in a different order, one will receive the reward of the sunnah. But for the complete reward, one would do the above, and one would gently run the siwak along the roof of his mouth and along his tongue lengthwise. So that's the most perfect way to use the siwak. Yes, but subhanallah, I don't have a siwak with me today. But basically, so let's say that hypothetically it was a siwak, if this was a siwak. So there's a way to hold it that the Hanafis mention, like that. But you can hold it however. And so you take the bristled end and you start from the right side, So this is the right side. And so you rub it from back to the middle. So rubbing horizontally with the right side of his mouth and end in the middle. So like that. And then you do the left side and end in the middle. And then obviously down at the bottom and down at both sides on the bottom. Then you rub the tongue lengthwise and then the roof of the mouth. Gently, of course. But that's the best form. But in any way that you do it, if you just go like this, for example, or you however you do it, because you can really use it to clean wherever it reaches, you get the sunnah. You get the sunnah. Moving on, page 38. The author said, it is disliked to use the siwak during this time for the person fasting, whether in Ramadan or not in Ramadan, whether a sunnah or an obligatory fasting. This is so because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which he stated what means that the changed breath of the fasting person's mouth is an indication of doing an act of worship. Yani, that is praised Islamically because it is a sign that that person is obeying Allah. Because it is a sign that that person is engaging in an act of worship. And specifically with fasting, because so fasting is more personal, right, for the person, because if you don't tell anyone, and if you, for example, you're not moving like in a lethargic way, you're not like, you're like how you usually are, like if you're eating, nobody would know that you're fasting, nobody would notice. It's not like when you're praying, people see you, how you're bowing, you're going to sujood, you're getting up. When you're saying dhikr, people see your hand moving when you're doing the dhikr, your tongue moving when you recite Quran, people hear you recite Quran, etc. When you're fasting, only you feel the hunger. Only you feel the thirst. Only you have to, and you're the one that's suppressing eating and drinking because you want to obey Allah. So that's the meaning of the hadith. And so because the siwak eliminates that change in the mouth, some said it was disliked. And to use the siwak after the dhuhr begins, if the person is fasting. The hadith was narrated by Al-Bukhari. Using the siwak eliminates this change in the mouth. The change in the breath usually occurs after dhuhr. This is why it is makruh, disliked. There is, however, another saying in the Shafi'i school that it is not disliked, that there is no disliked time to use the siwak. The other said, in 3 cases, it is more strongly recommended to use the siwak. Number 1, when the odor of the mouth changes because of azm, long silence, or another reason. So once the odor of the mouth changes, whether from not eating, being silent, or other than that, like if one eats garlic or onion, then it is more emphasized to use the siwak. Why is it more emphasized to use the siwak? Because Islamically, there is a theme in Islam for the Muslim to smell good, for the Muslim to look clean, for the Muslim to have good hygiene, because others would be harmed by the foul smell. So if you're, let's say, you can even picture it not in our times with technology and everything, but like picture you are like in a very hot place and it's 100 people in the masjid and there's no ventilation and there's no electricity, it's just, walls and people. So if somebody there has strong body odor, it's going to be a tough situation in there. And even today, if you go to certain countries, certain masjids, or in certain places, certain hot countries, that you might experience that. But that's why it's sunnah for the one who is going to go to a public gathering to make a ghusl, so that he doesn't harm others by his foul odor. So that's something to keep in mind. Number 2, it says when one wakes up. So whenever one wakes up, whether at night or daytime, it is more emphasized to use the siwak. And the Prophet ﷺ, he used to keep a siwak under his pillow. Number 3, when one is ready to pray. This is the case whether the person prays standing or sitting, whether it is the obligatory prayer or an optional one. Also, it is more emphasized to use the siwak when one is ready to recite Qur'an, and when one's teeth are covered with this yellow layer, and when one starts wudu after washing one's hands, and when one is dying. Because the siwak helps for his soul to get out, and it helps remind the person to say the shahada, and there are other cases. So the benefits of siwak are great. Not only the spiritual benefits, but also the physical benefits. In terms of the physical benefits, if you have gingivitis, if you have some type of thing in the mouth, it would be cleared up by the siwak. So someone, they had gum disease or something like that, or gingivitis, or if they had plaque, or if their teeth were yellow, they used the siwak and the plaque would get taken away, their gums would get fixed, the yellow color would be removed from their teeth. That's the benefit of the siwak. And you can keep it in your pocket, like in your breast pocket or in your pants pocket. You can have a little plastic tube for it, and you can use it on the go whenever you need, so you can always have hygiene. So that's the physical aspect, physical benefits. The spiritual benefits are even greater, because, like we mentioned, it sharpens the mind. It facilitates for the Muslim who is dying to say the shahada before his soul exits. The author said, it is sunnah to use the siwak from side to side, and to start with the right side till the middle, and then one goes from the left side to the middle and the inner side. And it is sunnah to use it gently on the roof of one's mouth, gently so one does not bleed. Also, among the benefits of siwak is that it makes the teeth white and strengthens the gum. And one receives more reward for one's prayers when one uses the siwak prior to praying. And it helps one pronounce the letters properly, among other benefits of the siwak. So even if you don't have the stick, just for the prayer at least, you can use your cuff, or you keep a napkin or a paper towel, piece of paper towel in your pocket, and just rub your teeth with the intention of using a siwak. At least so you get the original reward, or so you get the basic reward. And Nasa'i narrated from the Prophet ﷺ that he said, "As-siwaku mataharatul lil-fam, mardatul lil-rabb." It means the siwak helps to purify one's mouth, and it helps one be accepted by Allah. So this is very beneficial information for the Muslim. It is a proof also for us as Muslims for the truthfulness and the validity of our religion. That to that extent, to that detail, we are taught as Muslims, it is part of our deen. Right? Because that shows that it's through revelation. It shows that the reason we know that is because God revealed it to the Prophet ﷺ, and that information reached us. So any questions about the siwak before moving on?
Did you say that the top and the bottom, or is it
Yeah, the top and the bottom.
no, the top then the bottom?
Yeah, top then the bottom. Right side, top.
No. So, and then the roof or
No.
first?
Tongue, and then roof. Or with the jaws closed, and from the right, we can do both at the same time. For the teeth.
But for the complete, like the maximum C, it's one at a
We need to review that.
Daddy, I want to pay the bubbles first. Please, Daddy, can I blow it? Please.
There's a question here. It says, the website, I'll type it here.
I don't want to blow it. Please, Dad. Please, Daddy. Please, can I blow it? Dad.
So the question here is, if one forgets to carry the siwak, can one use his finger before prayer with the intention, will it be rewarded? Yes. And according to that saying, it would be yes. No. Babe, moving on. So now we're on page 40. We're going to start with a new chapter, which is the integrals of wudu and its sunan, yani the recommended manners of wudu. The author, rahimahullah, said, there are 6 obligations of wudu, ablution. The intention when washing the face, washing the hands with the elbows, wet wiping part of the head, washing the feet with the ankles, and adhering to the aforementioned order. So now, we're getting now into deeper into the chapter of purification, and after the chapter of purification comes the chapter of the prayer. These are like the 2 most important chapters in the Islamic law, because the most reward that the Muslim can get after being a Muslim is being someone who prays 5 times a day, getting the reward of the 5 daily prayers. So if the person maximizes that reward, or the person gets the maximum extent that he can of that reward because he followed the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then he would be getting the most reward that he could out of his day. He would be able to capitalize on getting the most reward that he can, because that's the biggest obligation after being Muslim, is fulfilling the obligation of the 5 daily prayers. So as a side note here, you see that sentence that we just read? There are 6 obligations of wudu, ablution, the intention when washing the face, washing the hands with the elbows, wet wiping part of the head, washing the feet with the ankles, and adhering to the aforementioned order. When we were in school, we had to memorize that, but in Arabic. وفروض الوضوء 6 أشياء: النية عند غسل الوجه وغسل اليدين مع المرفقين ومسح بعض الرأس وغسل الرجلين إلى الكعبين والترتيب. Like you had to, in order for it to be considered that you memorized it, you had to say it back as if you were reading it. So, for example, imagine if you took this book home and you memorized that first sentence. And that's just part of the assignment. You would have to, let's say, however much you recited that day. Let's say the teacher recited, let's say 2 pages. You gotta memorize the 2 pages of the Matn. Okay, that's a good idea. No, I was thinking about it. Whoever wants to memorize. I know that in English is different. To memorize, because English has to use a lot of words. In Arabic, it's a few words. So that right there is like a long sentence. There are 6 obligations of wudu, ablution, the intention of washing the face. So I would say you don't have to memorize word for word, like what's written in the book. You just have to memorize for example, if I say, what are the 6 obligations of wudu? You would say, the intention while washing the face, washing the hands with the elbows, wet wiping part of the head. Like not making up your own words in a way that you say something that is inaccurate, but in a way that, you still hit the mark. So it doesn't have to be like you use the same exact wording, but you have to get the same exact information. So he says here, the recommended matters, sunan of wudu, are 10. The tasmiyah, which is footnote 23, let's go to footnote 23. Saying Bismillah. Right, so become familiar with some of the terms. When the scholars of the Islamic law, they say tasmiyah, they mean by that saying Bismillah. So the recommended matters, sunan of wudu, are 10. And the author doesn't mean that it's only 10. The author means that these are the 10 that I'm listing. The tasmiyah, which means saying Bismillah. Washing the hands before inserting them in the container. And like when someone is making wudu out of, let's say, a barrel or a bucket of water, it's recommended to wash the hands before putting your hand in the container that you're going to use to make wudu. Rinsing the mouth and sniffing the water, that is among the sunnah. Wiping all of the head, wiping the back and front of the ears with new water, putting the fingers through the thick beard, going with the finger between the digits of the hands and feet, starting with the right side before the left, doing the acts of purification 3 times each, and performing the acts in succession. So this chapter pertains to the integrals of wudu. Linguistically, wudu means to use water to wash specific organs of the body. Religiously, wudu means to use water to wash specific parts of the body with a specific intention. As for wudu, it is the water which is used to perform wudu. Wudu has integrals, conditions, sunan, and makruh, yani disliked matters. The integrals of wudu are 6. This means if one leaves any of these 6 out, one's wudu will not be valid. So they're going to start mentioning the 6. Number 1, the intention. The intention here means to intend to do this act of worship at the beginning of it. So one would have the intention to perform wudu while washing the first part of one's face. Hence, if one washed a part of one's face without the intention, one needs to repeat washing that part. So if one had this intention one moment before washing one's face, and then washed one's face while thinking of something else and did not think at all that one is making wudu, then one's wudu is not valid. One needs to have the intention while washing the first part of the face. An example of a valid intention is to have the intention of making wudu or the obligatory wudu. So, these cases can easily be explained and understood once you understand the concept of the intention. The intention is something that occurs in the heart faster than lightning, as fast as an instant, as fast as the tick of a second. It's not something that you have to concentrate for it to happen. Because, for example, let's say you're sitting down at home on the couch, and all of a sudden you had the urge to, you're thirsty and you want to drink water. So immediately what happens? You stand up. What's your intention for standing up? To go get water because you're thirsty. So before you stand up to go to the kitchen to pour yourself a drink, you don't say, I now intend to get up to go to the kitchen to pour myself a drink because I'm thirsty. You don't do that. That's the intention. Why are you standing up? Because you're going to the kitchen, because you're thirsty. Why are you specifically washing your face in this way? Because you're making wudu. Because if that's really why you're doing it, then that's the intention. If you're splashing water on your face because you just want to cool off your face, you want to cool off, you want to just feel the splash of water on your face, is that wudu? No, it's not. So when the author says to have the intention while washing the first part of the face, it means that the reason or the motive behind that person washing their face is already in their heart when they first wash their face. Not that they have to simultaneously make their intention as the water is splashing on their face. It just means when the person is washing their face, at that moment when the water first touched their face, what did they have in their heart? The intention that they're going to make wudu. If he had in his heart the intention that he's going to, let's say, wash off some dirt, then he's not that's not wudu. Any questions about that before moving on? And you remember, the laws of Islam they are the easiest laws. And the laws that were revealed to the nation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were the easiest laws. We have it the easiest. Compared to other nations of Muslim nations of the past. Yes. And the rules that were revealed to the followers of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam are the most lenient. They're the most easy to obey. Imagine in the past, the Muslim, if he wanted to pray his obligatory prayer, he had to go specifically to the place where the obligatory prayer is prayed. He can't pray at home. He can't pray at work. He can't pray like in the open field. He can't pray like in the musalla or in the place that's not designated for the prayer. He has to go to that place, even if it's far away. Even if he lives far away from you. Within the nation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you can pray in a submarine, you can pray on a boat, you can pray riding through the desert, you can pray at home, at work, at school, on the airplane, on the bus, anywhere that it is not just filthy, you can pray there. So that's one example of how the rules are revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're the most lenient. Thought you already had a question, so moving on. It says, page 42. Also, if one has the intention to make this act so that it would be permissible to do something which requires wudu, like tawaf, yani like circling the Kaaba in that specific way, and so while washing one's face, one intends in one's heart, I am doing this so it would be permissible for me to go around the Kaaba, it is valid, even if one is not near the Kaaba. And so because basically he made his intention that he's doing this ritual washing to do a ritual act of obedience in Islam that requires that type of purification, that requires the wudu. And so basically, so for example, us, mostly, usually, when we make wudu, we have the intention, we intend to make wudu, and because we want to pray, and to make the prayer valid. So we specify, for example, the prayer. Or we want to make wudu so that we can be in a state of ritual purity, for example. So that would cover everything. But sometimes the person will specify, I intend to make wudu so that it's permissible for me to make tawaf, whether he is near Mecca or not. But if he made the ritual washing with that intention, so he's not considered to be on wudu. Also, if one has the intention to make wudu and to cool off at the same time, it is still valid. So, in the case of making wudu, if the person intends that they're making wudu and that they're cooling off their body because it's very hot, this would be valid. It is not a condition to pronounce the intention with one's tongue. It is enough to have it in the heart. However, it is sunnah. It helps one to have the intention in one's heart. So, when the person is about to make wudu, it's sunnah for him to say, I now intend to make wudu, with his tongue out loud. And loud enough for him to hear himself. But it is not a requirement for the validity of the wudu itself. The requirement is only that he has the intention when the water first touches his face. Number 2, washing the face. The second integral is washing the whole face. Whether one washes it oneself or someone washes it for him, while the person making wudu has the intention, or whether one stands under the rain wash a little part of the ear where it attaches to the face, to be sure one included the whole face when washing. One needs to wash a little more beyond the face to be sure to wash the whole face. The empty area between the sideburn and ears is a part of the face. Between the sideburn and ears, there's an empty area. This area, that's part of the face. As for the beard, if it is a man's thick beard, which the beard is the hair that grows on the jawbones, if it is a man's thick beard, it is an obligation to wash the apparent part of it if it is thick. So I do not have a thick beard. Thick means that the person one is talking to cannot see the skin underneath the hair. So if you're sitting with me at a conversation distance, you can see the skin under the hair that's growing on my jawbone, or on my cheek. If it is not thick, then what should be washed is the outside and inside. That is, hair and skin. This is in regards to the man. But if a woman has a beard, she needs to wash the outside and inside, whether the beard is thick or not, because it is rare for the woman to have a thick beard. And it's not discriminating against women. But the norm is that growing a beard is usually found in men. And it is not usual that it occurs to women. So since it's not usual that it occurs to women that they grow a beard, if she were to have a thick beard, then her judgment is not the same as the man who has a thick beard. Because the man who has a thick beard, it's sunnah for him to make sure that the water reaches the skin under his beard. But if his beard is not thick, if the beard of the man is not thick, he has to make sure that the water touches his skin under his beard. For the woman with a thick beard, she still has to make sure that the water touches her skin. So this is not discrimination. This is the judgment based on the fact that, number one, it's rare for it to even happen. If it does happen, it's rare. Secondly, if it does happen, she should shave it. She should shave it. And the woman should shave all body hair. Or not specifically shave, but the woman should remove all body hair except like her eyebrows and the hair on her head. She should remove all body hair. But she's allowed to have it if she wants to have it. But it's recommended for her to remove all the hair on her body. Like if she has hair on her forearms, if she has hair, if she does have, let's say, some hair on her lips, like a mustache. She does have some little stubble on her cheek. If she does, for example, have some hair on her legs, it's recommended to shave it off. Or to remove it. But she's not obligated to. The other said, number 3, washing the hands, forearms, including the elbows. It is an obligation to wash one's hands from the tip of the finger up to and including the elbow. The elbows where the bones of the arm meet. The elbow. So the bones of the arm, the forearm, and the, I don't know what you call this, bicep. I don't know what bone that's called, but this bone and this bone, they meet together here at the elbow. All that should be washed, even if one has very long forearms and very short upper arms. So let's say there was a person who had a birth defect, or they had a physical imperfection where their forearms were very long and their upper arms were very short. Even if that was the case, they have to wash that amount, from the tips of the fingers, including the elbows. And if one does not have elbows, let's say because of a defect, then one washes up to the place where a normal person with the same size of arms washes to. So in Islam, there's a solution for these matters. If one has a 6th finger, because some people, if you've ever seen them, they have an extra finger on their hand. So if someone has an extra finger on their hand, a 6th finger, he has to wash it too. Also, one needs to remove the dirt or the like that prevents the water from reaching the skin before making wudu, such as the dirt under the nails if it prevents the water from reaching the place to be washed. So there's certain substances that they form a layer over the skin and prevent the water from actually touching the skin. And if there's like dirt accumulated, like particles of dirt, entities of dirt accumulated under the nail, under the person's nail, and that dirt prevents the water from washing that part that is included in the part that needs to be washed for wudu, then it would not be valid. And we'll stop here for today. And Allah Ta'ala knows best. The next is wet wiping the head, then washing the feet, including the ankles, then observing the aforementioned order. And we'll review that and start that with a fresh mind. Next week, Wednesday. Does anyone have any questions? طيب, anybody on the chat? طيب, نهلل لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم رب اغفر لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات وبارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم.